Okay, so we're looking at volume of prisms today. Notice that the title just says prisms. It's not specifying between rectangular or triangular prisms because we're going to cover both. This will be done in two sections. There will be two different videos. First thing you need to remember the formula for volume of a prism. V equals capital B times H. The capital B stands for the area of the base of the prism. The H stands for the height of the prism. Do not confuse that with the height side of the H in the formulas for the area. Okay, it's a different height. That'll become a little bit clearer as we're working through some of these problems. If we look at, this is an example, this is a fish tank. If we look at the fish tank, first of all, the question is, what shape is the tank? Well, all the sides are rectangles, so it is a rectangular prism. Okay, and what we're looking at is we want to find the volume of water in the tank. So the volume of water is measured in cubic centimeters. Okay, a cubic centimeter is a cube that is 1 centimeter in distance on each side, including the height of the cube. Okay, so the length is 1 centimeter, the width is 1 centimeter, the height is 1 centimeter. Okay, so if we're looking at this, if we take each one, if there's 8 of them in here, and there's 5 this way, and we look at each one, that would be 1 cubic centimeter right there. Well, if we did 8 along this way, 5 along that way, that would be a total of 40 cubic centimeters. Okay, we know that because if we look at the dimensions, okay, what we talked about volume before, length times width times height. The length is 8, the width is 5, and the height is 1. 8 times 5 is 40 times 1 is 40. We get 40 cubic centimeters. If we raise the height of the water, bring it up to, oh, let's say 2 centimeters, then the new volume, 8 times 5 times 2, gives us 80 cubic centimeters. So we have a volume of 80 cubic centimeters. We found the same, that was all we did. We multiplied the length times width times height. If we adjust the water level again, let's bring it up to, let's say 5 cubic centimeters. Oh, look at the fishies. That's a funny looking fish. Okay, if we bring up to 5 centimeters, we find the volume. 8 times 5 times 5. 40 times 5 is 200 cubic centimeters. Okay, so if we're looking at this, the two dimensions that are not changing, that are staying the same every time, are the length and the width. They stay the same. The one dimension that is changing is the height. Okay? Remember the formula, the question is how does it relate to the formula? Remember the formula, volume equals area of the base times the height. And also remember that the area of the base was the length times the width. Since it's a rectangular prism, the area of the base is the length times the width of the rectangle. In this case, the 8 times the 5. All right, so the thing that's changing is height. If we figure out the area of the base of the prism, we simply multiply that times the height of our prism, we find our volume. There's a couple more examples of that. If we look at this one, this is a unit cube. Okay, it's 1 unit in each side, just like we had cubic centimeters before. This is just a unit, we don't know what it is. If I take 1, that's 1 cubic unit. If I take another one and put it on top, that's now 2 cubic units, because it's still got an area, the base has an area of 1 square unit. Okay? It's 1 square. One by one square. And the height is now 2, so the volume is 2 cubic units. If I put a third one on top, we now have 3 cubic units. We have a similar situation when we look at something like this. This is a prism. It has dimensions of 5 units for its length. And it has 3 units for its width, which gives us an area of 15. The area of the base, 5 times 3, 15 square units squared. Okay, it has a height of 1, so then the volume, 15 times 1, gives us 15 cubic units. The difference between square units and cubic units. Okay, if we look at this, we can do similar to what we did to the 1 cubic unit. This is 15 cubic units. If I put 1, that's 15. If I add another one on top of that, the volume is now 30 cubic units, because I have 2 layers of 15. 2 times 15 is 30. If I put 3 layers on there, well, we still have a base. 5 times 3 is 15. But the height now is 3 units, so the volume, 15 times 3, is 45 cubic units. This is a similar rectangle. This is again a rectangular prism. This time the length and width is 8, 4, and 2. 4 units by 2 units. So the area of the base, we think length times width. 4 times 2 is 8. The height for right now is 1 unit, so the volume, 8 times 1, or the volume, let's get used to writing it down, area of the base times the height, so 8 times 1 is 8 cubic units. Another way to write cubic units. If we put another layer on top, we have 2 layers. Okay, the volume is still area of the base times the height. That area of the base is still 8, but now the height is 2, so 16 cubic units. Okay, if I put a third layer on top, and by the way, this is for the table on your paper on the front side, bottom right. If I put a third layer, the volume, formula is still the same, base times height. The base is still 8. It is still 8 square units. The height is now 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Cubic units. Okay? So very simple procedure when you're doing volume. You find the area of the base and multiply it times the height. Okay, that's the first part. This is the end of the first video on your paper. You should have gotten the notes. If you didn't get all the notes for the front side of your paper, you need to go back and watch it again. Okay? When you're ready to watch the second video, it'll be on triangular prisms, and there's a couple of really good examples.